Tonight we have breaking news as we come on the air. This remarkable scene just a short time ago. Elon Musk holding court in the Oval Office. What he said with President Trump sitting beside him. We also have more than 100 million Americans in the line of these two major winter storms now hitting tonight and tomorrow. The winter storm alerts up right now. The two separate storms moving right across the country from the Midwest right into the east. A foot of snow in some places already tonight. Treacherous driving outside Washington, D.C. in Virginia. Hundreds of accidents. And then the second storm set to hit snow and ice, freezing rain from Washington, D.C. to Philadelphia to New York. Ginger Zee is right here to time all of this out tonight. Then Elon Musk holding court, speaking and taking questions for a half an hour or more in the Oval Office with the president sitting behind the Resolute desk. Musk is asked about his access to at least 15 government agencies. What he's doing, is he being transparent? Is he policing himself? Is there a conflict of interest with his own company having so many government contracts? Rachel Scott in the Oval Office asking many of the questions tonight. Also just in, the American prisoner freed tonight from Russia. The first images of American teacher Marc Fogel on a plane carrying him home. President Trump is asked what the White House offered Russia in return. The new images now emerging tonight, that deadly collision, two planes, the dramatic video showing the Learjet owned by Mötley Crüe's Vince Neil veering off the runway, smashing into another jet. There are reports tonight the person who died might have been the pilot. Authorities so far confirming only that it was a member of the flight crew. President Trump with the King of Jordan at his side, saying the U.S. is going to take Gaza. Having said the Palestinians would leave, he has suggested Jordan and Egypt would take in Palestinians. How King Abdullah responded. The two young American women who survived that shark attack, they had just jumped into the water in the Bahamas. What they described tonight happening moments later. We also have that major recall on canned tuna tonight, the rising cost of chocolate, and America Strong here, the 11-year-old who fell through the ice. He was saved, and he was choked up as he thanks the officer.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We begin tonight with these two breaking stories. Just a short time ago, Elon Musk holding court in the Oval Office, standing, taking questions about what it is Musk is doing as President Trump sat behind the Resolute desk. We're also tracking these two major storms hitting, already hundreds of accidents across multiple states, more than 100 million Americans in the path from the Midwest to the East. Take a look tonight. A state of emergency in Virginia at this hour, a ground stop at the Baltimore airport. The first storm hitting right now up to a foot of snow in the mid-Atlantic, flash flooding into the deep south at this hour. The second storm striking the Midwest tonight and then sweeping right across several states, hitting the Northeast tomorrow. Snow, ice, and freezing rain from Washington to Philadelphia, New York to Boston. The nation's capital in the bullseye at this hour with up to 6 inches of snow already. More than 300 crashes in Virginia, heavy snow near Stanton. Drivers in many areas urged to stay off the roads tonight. Chief Meteorologist Ginger Zee is here to time out both storms for us, and ABC's Stephanie Ramos with the treacherous driving already tonight.
Tonight, a treacherous mix of snow, freezing rain, and ice from a sprawling winter storm wreaking havoc across half the country. Whiteout conditions in Virginia, up to a foot of snow in spots. Multiple tractor trailers stranded along Interstates 81 and 64 near Stanton. The governor declaring a state of emergency. Traffic cameras on I-95 showing multiple accidents near Richmond. Virginia State Police reporting more than 24 injuries across the state. Snowfall rates of an inch an hour in the nation's capital. Schools and federal offices shutting down early. And up to an inch of ice weighing down trees across northwest Arkansas. Huge branches blocking roads in Fallsville. Icicles hanging off drooping utility lines. In Spencer County, Kentucky, the sheriff's office out on the roads, surveying the conditions all morning. The system stretching from the mid-Atlantic all the way to Houston, where powerful thunderstorms inundated roads.
David, the snow is really coming down here in D.C. You can't even see the Washington Monument behind me. Up to half a foot of snow is expected here in D.C. And in some areas south of the district, they're expected to get even more. And tomorrow, another system bringing the rain. David.
Really something there behind you, Stephanie. Thank you. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Zee tracking it all for us again tonight. Hi, Ginger.
Hi, David. West Virginia to Virginia, we're already seeing a foot plus in snow totals. If you go just an hour north of Roanoke, for example, Iron Gate picked up 12 plus. And it's still snowing. And that's why, as Stephanie said, we could see a few more inches yet tonight before it all leaves tomorrow morning. It will also buoy north. So Philadelphia gets more. New York City, even coastal Connecticut could pick up a little trace of snow overnight. Then I want to point your eye to Kansas City, because by tomorrow morning, it's a mess for that morning commute. Chicago will get going late morning. They're looking for 3 to 6 inches. 2 to 4 is Detroit. And then you see how that severe storms are on the southern end. They now have a hazard of tornadoes. New Orleans, Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama tomorrow afternoon and evening. We will start as a little burst of frozen precipitation in the northeast, but then it transitions to rain. And speaking of rain, David, there's another storm on Thursday we're watching in Southern California that could bring those burn scars and all those people hit so hard by those fires recently, 5 to 10 inches in some of the foothills.
Wow, we'll be watching that as well. Ginger, thank you. We turn now to that remarkable scene at the White House just a short time ago. Elon Musk standing in the Oval Office, President Trump sitting behind the Resolute desk, and it was Elon Musk who held court for more than a half an hour. How Musk describes what it is the Trump White House is doing, defending his access to at least 15 government agencies and counting. Elon Musk was asked if he's being transparent, if he's policing himself, and if there's a conflict of interest, given Musk's own company has contracts with the Pentagon. Our Rachel Scott asking many of the questions.
Tonight, an extraordinary scene playing out in the Oval Office. President Trump sitting at the Resolute desk, and standing next to him, Elon Musk and his young son, holding court for roughly a half an hour.
Your detractors, Mr. Musk,
what?
including a lot of Democrats.
I have detractors?
You do, sir.
I don't believe it.
Say that you're orchestrating a hostile takeover of government and doing it in a non-transparent way. What's your response to that criticism?
Well, first of all, you couldn't ask for a stronger mandate from the public. The public voted, we have a majority of the public voting for President Trump. We won the House, we won the Senate. The people voted for major government reform. And a lot of times, people that don't get what they voted for. But in this presidency, they are going to get what they voted for. And that's what democracy is all about.
Musk, the world's richest man with billions of dollars in federal contracts, has been given enormous power. His Department of Government Efficiency already accessing at least 15 agencies.
Mr. Musk, the White House says that you will identify and excuse yourself from any conflicts of interest that you may have. Does that mean that you are in effect policing yourself? What are the checks and balances that are in place to ensure that there is accountability and transparency?
Well, we actually are trying to be as transparent as possible. In fact, we post our actions to the DOGE handle on X and to the DOGE website. So all of our actions are maximally transparent. In fact, I don't think there's been, I don't know of a case where an organization has been more transparent than the DOGE organization. So, and the kind of things we're doing are, I think, very, very simple and basic. These are not individual judgment decisions. These are about simply having sensible checks and balances in the system itself to ensure that taxpayer money is spent well. So it's got nothing to do with, like, say, a contract for some company of mine at all.
But if there is a conflict of interest when it comes to you yourself, for instance, you've received billions of dollars in federal contracts when it comes to the Pentagon, for instance, which the president, I know, has directed you to look into.
Yeah.
Are you policing yourself in that? Is there any sort of accountability check and balance in place that would provide any transparency for the American people?
Well, all of our actions are fully public. So if you see anything, you say, like, wait a second, hey, Elon, that seems like maybe that's, there's a conflict there. It's not like people are going to be shy about saying that. They'll say it immediately.
Including you yourself.
Yes. But transparency is what builds trust, not simply somebody asserting trust. So not somebody saying they're trustworthy, but transparency, so you can see everything that's going on. And then you can see, am I doing something that benefits one of my companies or not? It's totally obvious.
And if we thought that, we would not let him do that segment or look in that area if we thought there was a lack of transparency or a conflict of interest.
But I followed up.
If you have received billions of dollars in contracts from the Pentagon, and the president's directing you to look into the Department of Defense, is that a conflict of interest?
Are going to do at the president's request.
Does that present a conflict of interest for you?
No, because you'd have to look at the individual contract and say, first of all, I'm not the one, filing the contract. It's people at SpaceX.
Musk and Trump have complained several of their plans are stalled in the courts, raising concerns the administration may defy a judge's orders. Today, the president told me that won't happen.
If a judge does block one of your policies, part of your agenda, will you abide by that ruling? Will you comply with that order?
Abide by the courts, and then I'll have to appeal it. But then what he's done is he slowed down the momentum.
As Musk's team tears through government agencies, Musk today acknowledging he has sometimes posted misinformation about their findings.
Well, first of all, some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes.
And David, there in the Oval Office, it was clear just how powerful Elon Musk is in this White House. And tonight we're learning he is about to be even more powerful. The president signing an executive order that directs all federal agencies to work with Musk and his team to cut staffing and limit hiring. It also gives Musk the broad authority to decide which positions in this federal workforce should or should not be filled, David.
All right, Rachel Scott right there in the briefing room tonight. Rachel, thank you. Another story unfolding at this hour, an American freed from Russia. Tonight here, the first images of American teacher Marc Fogel seen on his flight back home. The U.S. has said for years he was wrongfully detained after his arrest for having medically prescribed marijuana. He was serving a 14-year prison sentence. The Trump administration tonight saying they negotiated an exchange. President Trump was asked what Russia got in this deal. Here's Jonathan Karl tonight.
Pennsylvania teacher Marc Fogel is back on American soil tonight, free at last after spending the last 3.5 years in a Russian prison. Fogel was arrested in Moscow in August 2021. Airport surveillance video shows the moment a police dog flagged Fogel's luggage, leading to a search. Fogel's family says he was carrying a small amount of medically prescribed marijuana, but he was sentenced to 14 years in a penal colony. Fogel's 95-year-old mother, Malphine, said she received a surprise call from her son this morning with the news he was finally coming home.
We just need to get him home and hug him and hold him, and I think there'll be a lot of tears.
The White House says Fogel was freed as part of an exchange with Russia. Tonight, when our Rachel Scott asked President Trump what the U.S. gave the Russians in return, he didn't directly answer, but talked about the need to end the war in Ukraine.
Not much. No, they were very nice. We were treated very nicely by Russia, actually. I hope that's the beginning of a relationship where we can end that war.
The exchange that led to Fogel's release was negotiated by President Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, who flew to Moscow on his private plane. That is the first known visit to Russia by a senior U.S. official since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. President Trump said on Sunday that he has had a conversation with Vladimir Putin, although he didn't say when that conversation or conversations took place. David?
All right, Jonathan Karl in Washington with that late development as well, John. Thank you. President Trump with Jordan's King Abdullah at his side today. The president saying the U.S. is going to take Gaza. He has already said the Palestinians will leave. He has doubled down on that. And he has said that Jordan and Egypt will take them in. What Jordan's King Abdullah said today. And our Mary Bruce asking President Trump how the U.S. can take Gaza given its sovereignty.
Tonight, sitting next to King Abdullah of Jordan, a key leader in the Arab world, the president saying the U.S. won't buy Gaza, they will take it.
How is the U.S. going to own Gaza? Your White House has made clear taxpayer dollars won't be used for this. So what money are you going to use to buy Gaza?
We're not going to buy anything. We're going to have it, and we're going to keep it, and we're going to make sure that there's going to be peace.
But reporters pressing him.
What does that mean?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it.
I asked him how.
And Mr. President, take it under what authority? It is sovereign territory.
Under the U.S. authority.
But Palestinians don't want to leave their homeland.
Where exactly do you want them to live?
Well, it's not where I want them to live. It's going to be where we ultimately choose as a group. And I believe we'll have a parcel of land in Jordan. I believe we'll have a parcel of land in Egypt.
But Egypt and Jordan have rejected those calls. Instead, the king today announcing of the 2 million Palestinians living in Gaza, Jordan will take in 2,000 sick and cancer-stricken children.
Well, I think what we said, I have to look at the best interests of my country.
Now, after their meeting, the king said he was firm and, quote, reiterated Jordan's steadfast position against the displacement of Palestinians in Gaza, adding this is the unified Arab position. And Egypt is also sending a clear message tonight. President el-Sisi was slated to meet with President Trump here later this month, but he has now postponed his trip indefinitely. David.
A lot happening in Washington, and look at that scene behind you tonight, Mary. Thank you. Tonight, new images here of the deadly collision, a Learjet owned by Mötley Crüe's Vince Neil landing and then slamming into that other jet. Mola Lenghi in Scottsdale tonight.
Tonight, dramatic video capturing the collision of this Learjet aircraft. The small plane seen veering off the runway as it touched down in Scottsdale, Arizona, and slamming into a parked aircraft.
The airport is shut down.
The jet traveling from Austin, Texas yesterday afternoon. Officials say one member of the flight crew was pronounced dead at the scene. 3 others were taken to the hospital in critical condition. Emergency crews working for hours to free one person from the wreckage. The Learjet's landing gear seen separated from the aircraft.
It appears that the left main gear failed upon landing, resulting in the accident.
The Learjet is owned by Mötley Crüe lead singer Vince Neil. The rock star was not on the plane, but TMZ reports his girlfriend broke 5 ribs in the crash and is now recovering in the hospital. And tonight, with reports that the crew member who died may have been one of the Learjet's pilots, Neil's lawyer stating, Mr. Neil's thoughts and prayers go out to everyone involved.
Well, David, tonight the NTSB is investigating, working to determine an exact cause for this collision, David.
Mola, thank you. We are now hearing tonight from the 2 American women attacked by a shark in the Bahamas. Here's Eva Pilgrim.
Tonight, 2 Florida women bitten by a shark in the Bahamas sharing new details about those terrifying moments.
It was very scary, and the fear of thinking, you're going to die in the moment.
20-year-old Riley Decker and 24-year-old Summer Lehman were boating with friends in Bimini Bay when they decided to go for a swim. As they were about to get back on the boat, Riley says she felt a tug on her leg.
All I was screaming was, I don't want to die. Definitely a lot of fear and panic was running through my brain.
When I actually got bit, I didn't realize that I got bit until they started screaming that my foot was shredded and there was just blood everywhere.
Their friends pulling them on board, the 2 eventually airlifted to hospitals in Florida. Riley has undergone 2 surgeries so far, her family saying she will need at least a 3rd.
David, Riley and Summer say they swam in that bay countless times over the years and tell me they've never seen sharks in those waters. David?
We're glad they survived this. Eva, thank you. President Trump's Justice Department has instructed federal prosecutors to drop the case against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Today, the mayor thanking the DOJ for ending what he called a cruel episode, but the DOJ did not weigh in on the mayor's guilt or innocence. When we come back tonight, the major recall for canned tuna, multiple states, and another plane crash tonight, this one just missing a home. We'll have more here in just a moment. Tonight, we've learned a pilot has escaped a small plane crash in Hampton, New Hampshire. Video obtained by WMUR shows the plane just missing a house there. The pilot actually walking away. He says the plane simply stalled. When we come back tonight, this major recall for canned tuna, multiple states, and chocolate prices tonight. To the index, the major recall for canned tuna because of possible botulism, sold in more than 24 states under multiple brand names, including Genoa, Van Camp's, and Trader Joe's. We have much more on our website. The price of chocolate rising with Valentine's Day almost here. The cost of many chocolate products up 10 to 20% over last year. Climate change being blamed for a global cocoa shortage. When we come back here tonight, the 11-year-old boy who falls through the ice, the remarkable scene, and what's happened now. Finally tonight, the 11-year-old and his thank you. Tonight in West Long Branch, New Jersey, police officers running toward a frozen lake where an 11-year-old boy had just fallen through the ice.
I'm coming for you.
Officer David Muir tying a rope around himself and without hesitating, getting into the frigid water. Bravely wading out 75 feet to get to that boy. Officer Brzezinski slowly, carefully carrying the boy back. The officer would learn the boy's name is Ben, and he learned that Ben was cutting across the lake. He thought it was entirely frozen. He was trying to get home to walk the dog.
You okay?
Ben was rushed to the hospital. He's okay. And tonight, just days later, the reunion.
Very happy you're here.
And Ben deciding to write a letter to the officer who saved him.
You put your life on the line to save me. I owe you my life. Sincerely, Ben Santos.
Tonight, Ben and his family and likely the family dog, all grateful.
I'm really thankful for him to save me and how he risked his life to help me. I'm very thankful for that.
Well, we're thankful to that officer, too, and we're glad you're okay, Ben. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.